Rev up your engines!
Well, Toyota's pushing something out now that kind of makes sense. It's called the Proace. It's a small van. Now, they're not selling in the United States yet. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, who knows. It's set up so that you can have a family in it, or you can get them as a small cargo van. And guess what? It's cheap. The most affordable version is $18,000. Hey, you get the whole vehicle too, right? And it's a Toyota. Now, they're competing in the rest of the world. Like I said, they don't sell them here yet, but they're competing with things like the Renault Kangaroo, and that's a little vanity thing, but that starts at $25,000, a lot more than 18. Even the Citroen is $26,000, and the Peugeot is $25,000. So at $18,000, this Toyota van, they'll probably sell a whole bunch of them. Shame they'll probably never sell them in the United States. One, they'd never meet our market anyways, because you can get a whole whopping 100 horsepower diesel engine and a manual transmission in it, right? 96% of Americans drive automatics, and a 100 horsepower diesel engine isn't going to get out of its own way with an automatic transmission. Even with a manual, that's not too much power. So it's a thing they're selling in the rest of the world. They're not selling in the United States. There'd be a certain market here, but it's not going to take over from, take the Toyota Sienna, which costs like 3 times that, right? But it fits a lot of Americans. Got nice horsepower. They're hybrids now. They get phenomenal gas mileage. But they're kind of an interesting little van that they don't sell in the United States, but they sell a lot of them on the rest of the world. Well, the Ford F-150 is no longer America's best seller. For the last 47 years in a row, Ford was the best-selling vehicle in the United States, with the exception of 2009. In 2009, the Toyota Camry outsold the F-150 line of trucks, right? Well, guess who beat them out? The lowly Toyota RAV4. Maybe people don't want these giant things as much as they used to, right? And of course, the RAV4 is coming hybrid and even plug-in hybrid to get phenomenal gas mileage, where the F-150s are tremendous gas hogs because they're big trucks. Now, it was a close race. F-150 sold a little bit over 460,000 units in 2024, and Toyota sold a little over 475,000. But really, when you think about it, it's kind of an unfair comparison to begin with, because F-150 is a whole range of things. RAV4s are RAV4s, but the F-150s, it's a whole range of F-150s. Now, some of it has to do with price, too. The RAV4s start at $28,850. The Ford F-150 base starts at $37,065. So 28 versus 37. So, that's quite a bit of difference. And of course, if you go up, it's even worse. The fancy F-150s, all loaded and stuff, those things can go for $70,000, $80,000. And there's no RAV4 that comes even close to that. So a lot of times they're showing the base. In reality, yeah, there's a big price difference in the base, but when you go higher, the price difference gets extravagantly higher for the F-150s. And people are just, they're kind of getting sick of paying too much money for stuff. And they're going to go for something that's lower, gets better gas mileage. And so, Ford's reign has stopped for a while now. Well, here's some breaking news. Ford CEO Jim Farley is opening up about his relationship with Chris Farley. Now, believe it or not, Chris Farley, that big giant comic, Saturday Night Live, he is Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford Motor Company's cousin. Now, the big news is they were switched at birth, and there's a comedian running Ford Motor Company. All right, I'm making it up, but am I making it up? Because, hey, if you see what Jim Farley said recently, he said he doesn't want these tariffs that Trump is putting on from things from Mexico and Canada because it's going to lose American jobs. Okay, him saying that proves that he's either a comic, and we're all laughing at it, or he's a complete hypocrite, because it's his company, along with other American companies, that moved a ton of jobs south of the border in Mexico because it's cheaper to make cars there, taking jobs from Americans, right? Technically, you could say, well, Mexico, that's part of North America, so technically they're Americans too, right? Yeah, well, hypocrisy reigns supreme. Now, maybe he was switched at birth with Chris Farley, and he's actually the comedian, and he's making a big joke. Ha ha, I moved the jobs down there. Now I'm pretending I care about American jobs. Come on now. Hey, you can't have your cake and eat it too. right? So maybe he was switched at birth and you've got a comedian running Ford Motor Company. If so, he should go back into comedy and hire somebody who really knows what they're doing to try to turn Ford around. They've got all kinds of problems, right? And them saying that, oh, it's going to lose American jobs if you tariff Mexicans because we build our cars there and you'll tariff them more. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that, right? I mean, a lot of it's posturing anyways, but the very fact that the man can say, oh, it's going to lose American jobs after he sent them all down there, is it a big joke and he's really Chris Farley? Hey, who knows? Well, I agree with the statement, but at the same time, the figures are nonsense. A consumer price expert said that inflation isn't going to go away. And they're calling for a monthly increase of 0.3% for a 12-month inflation rate of 2.9%. All this economic stuff is total horse manure. There's no way we live in a society today that only has a 2.9% inflation rate per year. Go to the grocery store. Maybe 2.9% a month, maybe even a week, right? Certainly not a year. Your insurance, the cost of cars, the cost of batteries, tires, the cost of just about everything, electricity. Hey, it's not 2.9%. The problem with all this economic stuff is they want to hide how bad it actually is. So they don't include things like transportation, energy, all kinds of stuff they don't include. It's the most horse manure figures that anybody ever came up with, saying it's 2.9% a year. And they say, well, that's an increase of 0.3%. Now, do these people live in the real world? Either they're pulling a wool over our eyes and they know what they're doing, or they're complete morons, because it's a lot higher than that. You know, they're living in their own fantasy little world, and they're getting pushed by the politicians to say, it's not as bad. The inflation isn't that bad. It's not that bad. It's horrible. And they have the brass balls of saying it's 2.9% a year. Total nonsense. And they keep pushing it. It's just insanity. Of course, we live in insanely higher inflation than that. And of course, they're saying they're giving these lower figures because they want to lower the interest rate so that the corporations can borrow money, again, like they have for decades, for almost no interest at all, so they can get your money that you save, borrow it, pay you 1/4% or something. They make money, and then if they lose money, you lose your money. But, oh, well, we're gambling with our money anyway. How this whole thing even got to be in the situation that it's in is beyond me. Lies, lies, and more lies. Well, I love old Mary Barra, the head of GM, the CEO of GM. She says GM can mitigate up to 50% of potential North American tariffs. She's going to do it through magic, I guess. Here's what she says. We can potentially avoid short-term impacts of between 30 and 50% of the additional costs without deploying any capital. It's magic. It's magic, right? She says, quote, we are prepared when we know exactly what's going to happen and or even have an indication of what's going to happen. We know the steps we could take. Magical steps. She's not going to tell us these steps, right? It's just magic. They moved the jobs down to Mexico, along with Ford and Ram, Chrysler, right? They moved the jobs. Even Toyota's moved jobs from San Antonio down to Mexico to make their pickup trucks, right? Now they're trying to play the game that they care and that they have a magic solution if there's a tariff on the Mexican stuff that they only built down there to save money. So I guess old Mary Barr has some secret plan. God knows what kind of nonsense. Maybe it'll be like all the other corporations, you know. Well, here's what we do is lease back the equipment that we used to buy so we can amortize the net losses and it looks good on the paperwork, right? Nonsense. Total nonsense. They sent jobs down there to save money. They didn't give a crap about American jobs. Now they got to pretend that they care and that they have a plan if the tariffs come up. Some magic plan, right? Puff, the magic dragon's coming out here. Well, it turns out, no surprise, that Tesla drivers are the worst in the country, in the United States. They are the absolute worst drivers. There's kind of a snob appeal of it to begin with. Then they're super fast vehicles, which are asking for problems. They weigh a lot, and when they hit things, they do more damage because they weigh more. It turns out that Tesla drivers ranked the absolute worst in terms of reported incidents in 2024. And this includes the number of accidents, driving under the influence, and speeding cases. cases reported by Tesla drivers to insurance. Interesting enough, Mercury, Pontiac, and Cadillac drivers had the fewest. Maybe because they're old people driving really slow, I don't know, but it's kind of an interesting irony because they say, oh, they're safe vehicles inside. Yeah, for the people inside them, but the drivers are the worst. 30 car brands were analyzed, and Tesla drivers had 36.94 reported incidents per 1,000 drivers. Now, second was Ram. No surprise, guys drive big pickup trucks like lunatics. They obviously feel entitled, self-entitled. They speed, they drive under the influence, and they get in wrecks. So much for Tesla's electric car saving everyone. It's actually creating more problems, more than any other car. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.